And welcome everybody to the third to last show of the GSMC Sports Podcast, being hosted by myself, Kenneth Gruenfelder. It's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, April 23rd. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. We are going to talk about the Lakers bouncing back in Game 2 last night, defeating the Timberwolves. We'll get into the specifics of that game. In the second part of the show, we'll take a look at the other Game 2 matchups from yesterday, and we'll preview the ones that are going on tonight. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about Ashton Jeanty. We'll talk about him. I know we've spent some time talking about, the quarterbacks and, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, but, we've kind of mentioned Jeanty here or there, but I wanted to talk about where he could potentially end up. What team will take him? I know I've kind of, given my take, but we'll take a look at some of the other landing spots if he doesn't go where I think he's going to end up. We'll get into talking about the Steelers and what they plan on doing at the quarterback position. With everything going on with Aaron Rodgers, there's uncertainty there. They did talk about how the uncertainty with Aaron Rodgers will not impact what they do with the draft. So we'll get into that. And then in the final part of the show, I will rank my top 5 MLB teams at this current moment. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the Lakers and the Timberwolves. So when we talked about Game 1, when we talked about their loss to the Timberwolves, LeBron James, J.J. Redick, they talked about how the Lakers were not as physical as the Timberwolves in Game 1. Well, it was quite the opposite in Game 2. The Lakers came out on all cylinders. They came out on fire. In the first quarter, I think they ended up outscoring the Timberwolves. I think it was 35-15. Hold on, I need to fact check myself. But they did very well. They did very well in the first quarter. Yeah, 34-15. My apologies. 34-15. But then the Timberwolves, they outscored the Lakers in the second and the fourth quarter. The Lakers actually only scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. They ended up winning 94-85, so a low-scoring game. Both teams, outside of the Lakers' fast start, but both teams I don't think really shot the basketball well. They both ended up shooting. The Timberwolves actually shot 38% from the field. The Lakers shot 45% from the field. The Timberwolves were 5 of 25 from 3, and the Lakers were 6 of 29 from 3. So a lot of missed shots in this game. The Timberwolves out-rebounded the Lakers 50-45. But this was a big win for the Lakers. And, I said going into the game, you go down 0-2. I mean, the series wouldn't have been over by any means, but it definitely would have been a tough task to overcome. But LeBron James and Luka, they both had double-doubles last night. Luka had 31, 12 and 9, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. LeBron had 21 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. Rui Hachimura left the game briefly. He got hit in the face, so he was wearing one of those face masks, but he was able to return to the game. He finished with 11 points. Austin Reeves had 16 points last night. He was 0 for 6 from 3. So, and they're going to need him to, make some three-pointers in this series as we go back to Minnesota. Gabe Vincent did have a couple of three-pointers in this game. He went 2 for 4 from the field. He finished with 6 points. Finney Smith had a 3 at one point in this game. He had 7 points coming off the bench. For the Timberwolves, Julius Randle, an efficient night. He had 27 points, 9 of 17 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. Anthony Edwards, not a great shooting night. but he had 25 points. But yeah, he went 10 of 22 from the field. Jaden McDaniels, he went 3 of 11, which is not great. Naz Reid had 9 points off the bench. He was their leading scorer off the bench. But yeah, low-scoring game. Another game where both teams scored 100. So we've seen that, a few times in the playoffs, a couple times in the playoffs so far. But now this series goes back to Minnesota. Series is tied a game apiece, and it's really anybody's series. I think this is another one of those series that you could see going back and forth, especially with it going back to Minnesota. But look, for the Lakers, their recipe for success is your top two guys show up, play good defense, which is what they did last night. Because game one, Timberwolves had 117, and didn't even get to 90. So, it was a bad shooting night for both teams. But the Lakers, that fast start really was the difference in the game. So they needed that, and now we'll see what happens in Game 3. And Game 3 is coming up on, my guess would it be, it's either going to be Friday or Saturday. And let's see, and it would be, yes, so it is going to be Friday. It's going to be the late game on Friday on ESPN, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So, yeah, but like the Lakers, they really did slow down. They really did slow down after that fast start, and they gave the Timberwolves an opportunity to come back, and they started to creep back in the game a little bit, and you thought, oh boy, this is not going to be good, but it never got to within a point where you're like, oh man, they're going to lose this game, aren't they? No, the Timberwolves just could not keep it going, keep the momentum going, and get within striking distance. It just never really was the case. And like I said, the Lakers only scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. So it was, like I said, it's because of the fast start. They got to put together now a well-rounded game. So both games so far. You look at game one, Timberwolves shot 50% from three-point range. That's not always going to happen. And then the Lakers, they outscored the Timberwolves 34-15, and that was kind of the difference in the game. So, I don't expect that to happen again. And then, the Timberwolves don't take advantage of it after the first quarter, because like I said, Lakers really slowed down after that. So we'll see what Game 3 brings us, like I said. But I will say, watching Julius Randle in these couple of games, I was saying, man, I really wish the Knicks had him the other day, with him attacking the basket. Listen, Jalen Brunson was great when I went, but need other guys to step up, and it does. Seeing Julius Randle out there, it made me miss him a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. But he has played well so far. But yeah, not really a lot of contributions from other guys. Like I said, Mike Conley, didn't have any points. Jaden McDaniels, he had an off night. Rudy Gobert, he only had 6 points. Naz Reid had 9 after scoring 23 the other night. So he was off. DiVincenzo, he had 9 over the weekend, had 4 last night. Only played 16 minutes. But I think he was in a little bit of foul trouble too. So that also kind of played a role in that, I would guess. But yeah, they went from shooting 50% from 3 in game 1 to 20%. So they're going to be in the middle, I would say, for game 3. Yeah, talk about polar opposites there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think though about this game from last night. What were your takeaways from it? Luka, he's been great in this series so far. LeBron's been solid as well. But want to see Austin Reeves get it going more. Still, they didn't really get any contributions off the bench. Again, Gabe Vincent did hit a couple of threes, but yeah, no, they're gonna need more guys to step up in this series. So it was an off night for the Timberwolves, and like I said, the Lakers, they were backed by a fast start. So now we go back to Minnesota, and we'll see what happens in Game 3. Like I said, that will be on Friday. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the game from last night. Also, funny thing with the TNT crew. So I know there was that incident with Shaq. He had to leave the set briefly. And then last night I'm watching the post game, and there's a porta potty in the studio next to them. So if anyone was watching that, I thought that was really funny. But yeah, so Game 3 Friday. Let me know what you guys think about the game from last night. What were your takeaways from it? So when we come back from our first break, we will talk about the other games from yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about Damian Lillard making his return to the court and how he did, because that news came out, towards the end of. Well, actually, not even towards the end of the show. It was after my show was over, so I had no idea he was going to play until I saw on social media. So we'll talk about how he did. We'll talk about the other games that we didn't get to, and then we'll take a look at the games for tonight, the Game 2 games, and what to expect from those. I'll give you my picks for those. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to talk about the other games from last night. Had a couple of other Game 2s. We had the Grizzlies and the Thunder, as well as the Bucks and the Pacers. So we'll talk about the Bucks and the Pacers first. So Damian Lillard made his return, after an absence due to the blood clot, and not a great shooting night for him. He finished with 14 points, 4 of 13 from the field, 2 of 8 from 3, 4 of 5 from the free throw line. Kyle Kuzma, he showed up in the stat sheet. Okay, he had 12 points last night, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. 5 of 10 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. Giannis finished with a double-double. He had 18 rebounds, 34 points. He went 14 of 20 from the field. 6 of 10 from the free throw line. And Bobby Portis, 28 points off the bench. But it was not enough. The Pacers got the win last night, 123-115. All 5 starters were in double digits. Pascal Siakam had a double-double. Tyrese Halliburton had a double-double. Siakam had 24 points, 11 rebounds. Halliburton had 21 points and 12 assists. Miles Turner had 15. Nesmith had 16. Andrew Nembhard had 17, and they were able to pick up the win. And the Bucks are now in an 0-2 hole Both teams shot around 50% from the field. Both teams around 40% from three-point range. Pacers went 19 of 19 with their free throws, 100%. Bucks were 68%. So, free throws kind of made a difference in the game a little bit. Ended up losing by 8. But yeah, the Bucks are now in an 0-2 hole. And, Damian Lillard, with him just coming back, you don't expect him to, go off and score, a bunch of points. He's got to get his, his feet wet again. And, the Bucks are going to have to move on for him really to get into, to find his groove and get himself back into shape. But yeah, I think this series could be over. We'll see what happens now going back to Milwaukee. How the Bucks respond. I don't think this is going to be a clean sweep, but like I picked the Pacers to win this series. I like their team. And Halliburton, he had an off day in game 1, and you kind of figured he was going to bounce back in game 2, and he did. And they got contributions from their other starters. It's just, and actually Bobby Portis also finished with double-double. So they had 3 players. Actually, no, they had 2 players, Giannis and Bobby Portis. So several players finishing with double-doubles last night. But yeah, I just feel like the Pacers, they're the better team at this point. And Dame and Tyrese Halliburton, they were, continuing their trash talk. But it's kind of been one-sided so far with the Bucks now down 0-2. So Game 3 is going to be on Friday. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on NBA. It'll be on NBA TV. It'll also be on ESPNU or ESPU. So, yeah, that's a big game for the Bucks. They're going to be at home. So, you expect they would take at least one of the games at home. Could they take 2? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think the series is nearing the end pretty quickly here. But we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys think about that game. And the OKC Thunder, they continue their dominance in this series. 118-99. Now, not quite, a 50-point win, but, they once again showed that they are the much better team in this series. Better performances out of their starters. The Grizzlies had Jaren Jackson Jr., John Moran had 23 points. Not a great shooting night, though. But, the Thunder are just too much for them. Shea didn't have a great shooting night either. He finished with 27 points. He went 10 of 29 from the field, 3 of 10 from 3. Chet Holmgren finished with a double-double. He had 20 points, 11 rebounds. Jalen Williams had 24 points. Alex Caruso had 16 points off the bench. And then looking at the comparison of both teams, Thunder took over 100 shots. They both shot around 43% and around 33% from three-point range. And I apologize for my dog barking in the background. She got taken to the vet, so I thought she was still going to be there. But no, I guess she's back. Here's the other thing too. Grizzlies, 14 turnovers in this game. The Thunder had 25 points off of turnovers to the Grizzlies 6. Fast break points, Thunder 21 points to the Grizzlies 3. So that was a big difference in the game as well. But yeah, this series is just this series is definitely over. This is definitely over. Could the Grizzlies steal a game? Maybe, but I don't see it happening. I think this is going to be a clean sweep, and the Thunder are going to be one of the first teams to move on in the playoffs here. They are outclassing the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were competitive in the second quarter. Thunder outscored them 38-35, and then they outscored the Thunder in the third quarter. But between the first quarter and the fourth quarter. Thunder outscored them 32-17 in the first quarter, 28-20 in the fourth. So, but definitely more competitive, I guess, than compared to Game 1 when that game was just over, when it tipped off. So, but yeah, so the Thunder are up 2-0. The Pacers are up 2-0. Lakers, Timberwolves is tied at 1 apiece. And then we got a few games tonight. Celtics Magic is going to be interesting because it looks like there's going to be no Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is dealing with a bit of a wrist injury, and right now he is doubtful for the game. Landed awkwardly on his right wrist, and so that's a huge loss. Can the Magic take advantage of that? I mean, the Celtics are still 10.5-point favorites, so I mean that tells you really all you need to know. It doesn't. I mean, it is going to make a difference, but I still think even without Jason Tatum, the Celtics could still win this game. They got enough weapons, on that team. They're a deep team where, they could afford the loss, but guys are going to have to step up. And I think they will. I think, yes, it's going to be – it could be a closer game. And we did see the Magic that, they played a good first half in Game 1. They were up by 1 going into halftime. But then the Celtics came out and they took control of the game. So, we'll see what happens tonight. But I still would lean towards the Celtics winning this game. The Cavs and the Heat, their Game 2 match, their Game 2 is tonight. With their series, I mean, I expect the Cavs to win. The Heat were competitive, somewhat competitive in Game 1, but the Cavs are just much better, and I think they win. Now, the game I'm looking forward to the most tonight is the Rockets and the Warriors. The Warriors, they won Game 1. Both teams scored under 100 points. Score of Game 1 was similar to the score from last night between the Lakers and the Timberwolves. But, the Rockets, they got off to a good start. But, the Warriors had a strong finish to the game. Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler had big games, and some of the guys on the Rockets, were not great. Fred VanVleet had an off night. The Rockets, this is a huge game for them. Home field advantage has kind of shifted into the Warriors' favor, but it's really going to shift in the Warriors' favor if they win tonight. They're 3.5-point underdogs. I'm going to say the Rockets do even the series, but if they don't, they're in trouble. So take the Celtics tonight, Cavs tonight, and I'll take the Rockets, all the home teams. So surely one of the road teams is going to end up winning. I mean, it's really going to. I mean, I don't. The Magic I could see because Tatum being out, but I think the Celtics should win. The Warriors and the Rockets, that's the one that's really the toss up. But I'm going to say the Rockets even the series. But like I said, if they don't, yeah, that could be a problem. That could be a problem for them. But let me know what you guys think about the games for tonight. What do you think? Who do you think wins them? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So, when we come back from our next break, we're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty and the potential landing spots for him with the NFL draft coming up tomorrow. So we will get into that discussion when we return from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast, and for the third part of the show, we are now going to talk about Boise State running back Ashton Jeanty, who will be one of the top players taken in this draft. He's one of the top prospects in this draft, and this is a loaded running back class. We've talked about that several times, but he is the best one in most people's eyes, and I would agree with that. He is coming off of a great final season at Boise State. Yeah, he's going to be one of the top players taken off the board. Now, where is he going to end up going? Well, I've said over and over again that I think it's going to be the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to be the team that ultimately ends up with him. The Raiders were not a great team at running the football last year. And, you know, they did sign Raheem Mostert, which I think will help a little bit. But he's not the long-term answer. No. I mean, and especially because I think he's like 33 years old now. So you're going to need somebody else. And I do think it's going to be Jeanty. You know, could the Raiders take a quarterback? You know, Shedeur Sanders slides to them, maybe. I don't think so. The pick is going to be Jeanty. But what's interesting is what are the Patriots and the Jaguars going to do? Because the Patriots and the Jaguars are ahead of the Raiders. Now, we talked a little bit about Jeanty in our production meeting when it came to the Patriots. Now, do I think Jeanty would be a good fit for the Patriots? Yeah, I mean, I think he'd be a good fit basically anywhere. But I think the Patriots have other areas that they need to address. Whether it is the offensive line, you know, if they want to add another playmaker on offense that isn't a running back. Because they did give Ramondre Stevenson that contract extension. Now you could say, well, you know, now you got Mike Vrabel in there. You know, you got new voices in that room again. You know, maybe they want to take the best player available. And if they think it's Jeanty, they're going to take him. And it doesn't matter if Ramondre Stevenson got this big contract. And I suppose that is possible. But I do think the Patriots, they could take a running back in the later rounds. I think that's a team that you could see them doing that. I don't think they should take Jeanty with their first pick. I think you got to take, you know, what's your biggest need? Now, like I said, they could take a receiver. Or maybe they trade down. I could see the Patriots trading down. I really do think. I really do believe that. One of those teams, with them, I could see them trading down. But they could opt to take an offensive lineman. Will Campbell from LSU. That's someone that, you know, people have going to New England. And offensive line was a weakness of the Patriots last year. So they have to correct that. So I could see them taking an offensive lineman with their first pick. But like I said, I could also see a scenario where they trade down. So I don't think Jeanty's going there. The Jaguars could be a possibility. Although I think they're also another team where I think they need to address other areas besides running back. And they have two running backs on the team. Tank Bigsby played well last year. Travis Etienne, I don't know what happened to him, but he had a strong 2023. Maybe he bounces back. I think they need to address other areas. They're another team that could address the offensive line. They could address the defensive line. There's a lot of different things they could do. But, you do have Liam Cohen there who, did well in Tampa, and Tampa had a good running game. So maybe, if you want to add Jeanty to that running back room, and you give teams different looks with the running back position with Jeanty, ETN, or Bigsby, and maybe you trade one of them. You could do that. But I think the Jaguars should, look at other areas to address with their first pick. Raiders, I think, is the team. I think it is the team that he is going to end up on. Pete Carroll is going to want to run the football. I know I say that, and then everybody's going to bring up Super Bowl 49. I get it. But the Raiders want to improve this running game. And I think he is the guy to do it. Now, you could also say the Raiders need to add another receiver. I agree with that. Maybe they take one, in the later rounds. But running back is a need for the Raiders, and I think this would be the guy. So I could see that. But now, what happens if what happens if he slides? Well, I think you could see a team possibly trade up for him. Like, you look at the Jets, I don't see it, with their running back room. The Panthers, I'd be a little surprised because, again, they gave Chuba Hubbard a contract extension. So I don't see the Panthers. The Saints, if Shedeur Sanders falls to them, they could take him. The Bears, I would love that spot for him. If he ended up on the Bears with now Ben Johnson there, and you would have now they brought in DeAndre Swift last year, so you would have the combination of DeAndre Swift and Ashton Jeanty. And that's kind of like, and Ben Johnson worked with DeAndre Swift, but it would kind of be like how it was over in Detroit with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You'd have Jeanty and Swift. And, the Bears, they made some improvements to their offensive line because that was a major weakness for them last year. And they improved that this offseason, trading for Joe Thuney. Was a big move. So the offensive line, you figure, is going to be better. And if you add Jeanty to that offense, Caleb Williams in year 2, a strong running game could really help your young quarterback. And if you have Jeanty and Swift there, and of course the receivers, Roma Dunze going into year 2, you still have DJ Moore, Cole Kmet's a good tight end. That would be a great spot for him, but I don't see that happening. But the Bears, I could definitely see maybe them taking a running back at some point. Khalil Herbert, they moved off of. It was Swift and Roschon Johnson. So I think the Bears are going to be looking to draft a running back coming up, but we'll see. Now, this is not going to happen, but if it did, Dallas would be a good landing spot for him. But the window is only open for so long, so it would kind of because we saw what happened with Ezekiel Elliott. He had those few years where he was really good, but then he started to tail off, and now look what happened. So, Dallas used Zeke a lot his first couple of years, and, he was the best running back in the league at the time. And if they drafted Jeanty, that would be, a home run pick. Now, obviously, the offensive line is not what it used to be. Now, if you were drafting Jeanty and you had the offensive line that you had back in 2016, everybody in their prime, basically, really would be a home run signing because he's going to, run for over 1,500 yards. But with Zach Martin retiring, that was a big loss there. Tyron Smith left, and now he recently retired. The offensive line's gone through some changes, but I think that would be a good offense, to be drafted in. Dallas does need another receiver, though. And, looking at Tankathon's mock draft, right now they have Tetairoa McMillan going to Dallas, which I don't think would be bad. I think that would be that wouldn't be a bad pick because they do need another playmaker on that side of the ball. And Dallas did bring in a couple of running backs. They did bring in Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, but do we really expect them to, be efficient? Not really. They're both coming off of down years. So, I mean, I think they'll be better than what Zeke provided them last year, which was really nothing. But, and the other thing, too, is Rico Dowdle. And that's another reason why the Panthers are not going to draft. I mean, they could draft Jeanty. But, yeah, you have Rico Dowdle there now with Chuba Hubbard. So I think they're kind of set with running back for now. But in Tankathon, they have the Panthers taking an edge rusher, Jalen Walker from Georgia. So, yeah, they have other needs. But, yeah, I mean, Cowboys, they need more playmakers on offense. It's Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Jacob Ferguson's a good tight end, but they need more. And I don't think going into the year with Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams at the running back position is good enough. So I think they need to address that. And I think Jeanty, if he somehow, maybe the Cowboys trade up. Maybe they trade up. If they trade up, like let's say they trade with the Patriots, they trade up to 4 and they take Jeanty. I don't know if they're going to do that, but if the Cowboys are trading up, that means they're trying to get Jeanty, I would imagine. So, any other potential landing spots? I mean, the Dolphins, no. Colts, Falcons, Cardinals. The Bengals is interesting, but I think they need to go all defense. But, I mean, Jeanty in that offense with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. I mean, you pair him up with Chase Brown. You have a nice duo there. It's not going to happen. The Broncos are another team, but Jeanty's going to be gone by 20. Tankathon has them taking Omarion Hampton, the North Carolina running back. So Broncos are another team. Definitely going to take a running back, but it's not going to be Jeanty. But from this conversation, Jeanty is going to be a Raider. Unless something happens. Unless you see the two teams ahead of the Raiders maybe take him. Unless the Giants maybe take him. Imagine the Giants took him. Oh, man. I would you will get my reaction to who the Giants take on Friday. But if they took Jeanty, I will lose my mind. I will lose my mind if they end up taking Jeanty. And there has been no indication of that happening. There has been no indication of that happening. It's going to be best player available, which is Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, or it's going to be a quarterback. That's what it's going to be. Or they trade out, whatever. But there is no indication of them taking Jeanty. And the fan base would lose their minds if that happens. So, we will see. We will see, but let me know what you guys think, though. Where do you think Jeanty ultimately ends up? I think it's going to be the Raiders. What do you guys think, though? But, I mean, listen, I would love if he ended up on the Bears. I think that would be a great spot for him. The Cowboys would be a good spot for him. I don't want it to happen because, Giant fan here. But there's definitely some good landing spots for him. The Raiders, I mean, look, they're turning it around. They're going to turn it around with Pete Carroll now there, and Tom Brady's got his fingerprints on the team. So they need playmakers, and he would be quite the playmaker to add in this draft. But they're going to need more than that. They're going to need help at receiver as well. You got Brock Bowers there. So, the Raiders, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the team. I know I've said that over and over again. So, we are going to take our next break. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Steelers. We'll talk about what they plan on doing at the quarterback position, with everything going on with Aaron Rodgers. How is this going to impact their draft strategy? We'll get into some of their comments, what they have said recently, and I'll give you my thoughts when we come back from our next break. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about the Steelers and their plans for their quarterback position, with Aaron Rodgers still yet to decide what he plans on doing. Now, we have talked about Aaron Rodgers, and, he was on the Pat McAfee show. He talked about, his meeting with the Jets. And, there's really no indication on what he's leaning towards. Everything is on the table. But, you've had the Steelers, come out, front office has come out, Mike Tomlin has come out, and they've, been asked questions on the quarterback position. Omar Khan, their general manager, had some comments. He'll consider every avenue to add to the quarterback room. He said, "We discussed in Palm Beach a couple of weeks ago, we go to camp with 4 quarterbacks. Right now they have 2 on the roster. All options are on the table on how we require those last 2. I assure you, we'll have 4 when we get to training camp." Right now they have Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. Those are the 2 quarterbacks on the roster. Now, Mike Tomlin was asked, how, with Rodgers, yet to decide, how does that affect the Steelers' approach to the draft? And Mike Tomlin said, it does not. Then is it possible the Steelers draft a quarterback they believe could start right away? It could affect their pursuit of Rodgers. Mike Tomlin said, I think what you do in the draft oftentimes affects maybe some talent acquisition that happens after. We'll see how the acquisition goes this weekend. So, I think I could see a scenario where they take a rookie quarterback and then you still sign Rodgers, because I don't think they're going to draft a quarterback that's going to start day one. I don't think that's going to happen. I think no matter what the Steelers do, could they trade up? Sure, but they'd have to give up a lot, and I don't think they're going to. They're really going to do that. They did. Tomlin was asked about a timeline for Rodgers. He said, I don't know that I meant that specifically because he's training camp being the line of demarcation. He said, I don't know that I meant that specifically for him or the circumstance. I'm just saying in general, when you report to training camp, man, it's a line of demarcation for development of a group individually and collectively. He also said he hadn't pondered whether he'd be comfortable with Rodgers missing OTAs or minicamp. So we'll see. But yeah, right now they got 2 quarterbacks on the roster, Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson. But yeah, I could see a scenario where they sign Rodgers and then you take, let's say you get Jackson Dart. Let's say you take a Jalen Milroe. You take, a Tyler Show. You take one of these guys. That can happen. And, Omar Khan said that all possibilities are on the table. They could sign Rodgers. They draft a quarterback. Maybe they draft 2 quarterbacks. Maybe they trade for 2 quarterbacks. They could draft one or they could trade for someone. Or they could sign one that isn't Rodgers. I don't think there's really any good options out there. I think Carson Wentz is still out there, to maybe be a backup. But I think the Steelers, they want to go into the year, with a better option. Mason Rudolph right now, he's the best quarterback on the roster out of what they have. Between him and Skylar Thompson, you take Mason Rudolph. Because Mason Rudolph, played in some big games down the stretch in 2023 that helped propel the Steelers to the playoffs. Now, of course, they did not win. They lost to the Bills. But he's the better option of the 2. You could at least get some wins out of Mason Rudolph. But I don't know over the course of a full year. And we did see him start basically a whole year. Back in 2019. Can't believe how long ago that was. We saw him and Duck Hodges play because Ben Roethlisberger got hurt. And, the Steelers, they ended up going 8-8. and just missing out on the playoffs. So, I mean, and I think this Steelers team is, maybe a little bit better because, of the receivers and, of course, I think the defense, is still solid, but it's getting older. So, yeah, I mean, Rodgers right now, he's the marquee name out there at the quarterback position. And, the Steelers, look, they have the opportunity to walk away whenever they want. I really don't agree with the notion that they're being held hostage. I don't, because they could walk away and figure it out. Now, they kind of, put themselves in a tough spot because, they kind of, they kind of ruined things with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And it all goes back to last year, how they handled it. Because had, things gone differently, maybe, you have Fields. Maybe they could have been a little bit more aggressive with Russ in the offseason after, Fields ended up signing. But, now it's just that, you're playing musical chairs and, now you're fighting with, well, I don't know if you're really fighting, but it's either Rodgers is going to play or he's going to retire. But we don't know if Rodgers definitely wants to, even if he wants to play, does he want to sign with the Steelers? The Steelers just happen to be the only team that, wants him right now. I don't think there's really, I mean, the Saints, I know that they kind of got thrown around because of the Derek Carr injury news, but yeah, like it's the Steelers or bust if Rodgers wants to play. Or he can continue to play the waiting game, and if another opportunity opens up, maybe he signs there. I don't know. But, when he talked with Pat McAfee, he said there's stuff going on in his inner circle that he has to pay attention to. And no matter what you feel, no matter how you feel about Aaron Rodgers, you need to respect that because we don't know. We don't know what's going on. All right? We don't know what's going on. And, look, everybody's impatient. You get that. Everybody's impatient. They want him to make a decision. I want him to make a decision because I would like to know, are you playing or are you going to retire? Am I going to have to, post a tribute video of, all the best moments over the course of his career or, or not? No, I'm just saying that but as a joke. But we want to know. We want to know. And we still got to continue to wait. But I think we will get a decision within the next several weeks. I'm going to make that prediction. Now, I'm not going to be here when Rodgers makes it. Well, I'll still be around, obviously. But I'm not going to be here to talk about that when it happens. Will that happen before my last show on Friday? How about that? No, it's going to happen sometime after the draft. It's going to happen sometime after the draft. And that could be what, Rodgers is waiting for. But I think the Steelers, they will definitely take a quarterback in this draft. So that's 3 QBs. How are they adding the last one? And I think you could see them maybe sign another veteran or they trade for somebody. Unless they take 2 in the draft. But, yeah, I think you're definitely going to see them take one. And then, hopefully, Rodgers makes a decision. And then that's where they add their other quarterbacks. So then, you have Rodgers, you have a rookie quarterback, you have Mason Rudolph. Skylar Thompson, I guess, would be the odd man out. Unless, of course, again, Rodgers doesn't sign. But that's kind of how I see it going. But, it's going to be interesting what the Steelers do with their pick. Could they be a team that potentially moves up? If Shedeur Sanders ends up falling, could we see them trade up from 20 to get to 8 or something? I don't know because, again, we don't know what the Saints are going to do. But if Shedeur Sanders slides out of the top 3, you could definitely see, him go a little bit until you get to the Saints. And if the Saints don't take him, then you're really going to see him slide because I don't know who, So, I mean, if the Steelers somehow were able to get Shedeur Sanders, I think we do it. But I don't think so. I think you will see the Steelers take a quarterback past round 1. And who that quarterback is going to be, we'll see. We'll see. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers. What do you think Rodgers will eventually announce his decision to play with the Steelers or not? At some point, the Steelers will, walk away completely. But yeah, it's just we got to continue to play that winning game. But they will definitely add a quarterback in this draft. So that's 3. Now it's really just a matter of what that last quarterback is going to be. And could it be Aaron Rodgers? Your guess is as good as mine. So, we are going to take our final break of the show. And then when we come back, we'll do a little bit of power rankings. Major League Baseball power rankings. The top 5, it's tough. It's very tough. But we are going to we're going to get into that when we come back from our next break. Or actually, not just our next break, but our final break of the show for today. So we did some basketball, talked about the playoffs, talked about the draft a little bit. Now we'll get into baseball. So that will take us right to the end of the show for today. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to do power rankings for the teams in Major League Baseball. Top 5. This is my second top 5 list. My second and final Major League Baseball power rankings. I will not be including any American League teams. Now, there are teams that have gotten off to good starts in the American League, but the National League is just, it's the superior league. It's a superior league. Like for the Rangers, I know I put them in the top 5. Right now, they still have a negative run differential. Now, they, are in first place, like I said, but I just can't put them over a National League team right now. I can't. The Guardians actually are playing some good baseball right now. They've won 5 in a row. They've taken the first 2 games of the series against the Yankees. Last night was an ugly loss for the Yankees. They're an honorable mention. The Rangers are an honorable mention. I mean, the Yankees are in first place as well, but they are, they've lost 3 of their last 4 games right now. The offense has not done well in the first 2 games against the Guardians. We'll see if they can salvage the final game. But we'll start with number 5. Number 5, it's between the Giants and the Diamondbacks. Giants, they've been a surprise team so far this year. Their pitching's been good. Jung-Hoo Lee's had a good start to the year. The Diamondbacks, they're right behind them in the National League West. I like the Diamondbacks better. I like their lineup. Their pitching has not been spectacular. Their starting pitching, Zach Gallen, hasn't been great as of late. Merrill Kelly hasn't gotten off to the best start. Corbin Burns really hasn't gotten off to the best start. Because you look at, how their pitching has done so far. Zach Gallen has a 5.6 ERA. Merrill Kelly has a 4.73. Brandon Pfaadt actually is their best starter right now. With his ERA, he's 4-1 with a 2.73 ERA. And then for Corbin Burns on the year, he's 0-1 with a 4.64 ERA. And then Eduardo Rodriguez, he's 1-2 with a 4.09 ERA. So, you expect those guys to be better. But you look at the lineup, Josh Naylor, he's gotten off to a good start. He's batting .341, 4 homers, 16 RBIs. Corbin Carroll, he's had a nice bounce back season so far. Last year was kind of a step back, but he's looked good this year. You look at the team totals. The Diamondbacks are 7th in home runs. They have 32 home runs on the year. They're 3rd in RBIs. And then they're also 7th in batting average. OPS, they're 3rd behind the Yankees and the Cubs. Slugging, they're 3rd behind the Yankees and the Cubs. On-base percentage, they're 3rd behind the Padres and the Cubs. So you kind of see where I'm going with this. Their lineup's been good. Their lineup has been solid. So I'm going to put them at number 5, the Diamondbacks, even though the Giants are a half game up on them in the standings. But the Giants are right there, too. They're a top 10 team. But I got the Diamondbacks ahead of them. So at number 4, it's tough. It's tough. I'm actually going to put... It's between the Mets and the Cubs. Right now, I'm going to put the Mets. I'm going to put the Mets at 4. They have been playing some really good baseball as of late. Francisco Lindor has been on a tear. The pitching has really held up. The bullpen, that has been the Mets' Achilles heel for the last several years. It is not this year. The bullpen's been good other than Edwin Diaz. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been great. But the starting pitching has done its job so far. And they're not 100%. They're going to get Manaea back at some point. Kodai Senga, actually, he's gotten off to a really good start this year. So, once you get Manaea back, you're almost whole at with the rotation. They got to wait and see on what happens with Frankie Montas as well. So, we'll see how it goes. Sorry about that. Breaking news, there is no breaking news. But anyways, yeah, so they got to wait on Frankie Montas. They got to wait on Sean Manaea to come back. But they're playing really well. They're playing really good baseball. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, has been starting to get out of his slump. He's gonna get it going. By the time we get to the summer, he's gonna have, the power numbers are gonna be there. The RBIs are gonna be there. Right now he's batting in the 230s, but it's Juan Soto. He's gonna figure it out. I got a little choked, not really choked up, but I was in my bag, as the kids like to say, because Hunter Gaddis came into the game last night for the Guardians, and that was the pitcher that Juan Soto hit the 3-run home run off of to help propel the Yankees to the it's the second time I've used propel, but help lift the Yankees to the 5-2 win and the clincher that they won the pennant and sent them to the World Series. And I was hoping for someone to be Juan Soto last night and hit a home run to propel the Yankees to a win, and that just didn't happen against Gaddis. But yeah, you can tell I still miss him. It's tough, but look, he's gonna have a good year with the Mets. All right, it isn't gonna go off to the start the Met fans have hoped for, but he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine, guys. I know my friends who are Met fans, they know he hasn't been great, but they know he's gonna figure it out. But a lot of these Met fans, I'm sure, like, oh man, why do we pay this guy? You'll find out. You'll see why. But I got the Mets at 3. All right, Mets at 4. Sorry, the Cubs I have at 3. What a game last night between them and the Dodgers. What a roller coaster of a game. Back and forth. They were down going into the bottom of the 9th inning, 10-9. And I saw Tanner Scott was in it, and I have Tanner Scott on one of my fantasy teams. So I'm like, all right, he's going to get the save. There were 2 outs. Sure enough, I put the game on my phone. I have the MLB TV subscription. And Miguel Amaya is up, and he hits a home run. The second I put on the game, Tanner Scott gives up a home run to Amaya, and the Cubs tie the game. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then the Cubs ultimately won in extra innings. They won in the bottom of the 10th. And, they knocked off the Dodgers. The Cubs offense, I talked about the Diamondback stats. They're behind the Cubs in, like, several different categories. The top 3 is, like, the Cubs, Diamondbacks, and the Yankees. Now, the Yankees stats are kind of inflated because of that start they got off to against the Brewers. But this Cubs lineup is hitting. Kyle Tucker right now, he's an MVP candidate in the National League. He's batting .320. He's got an 1,000 OPS, 7 home runs, 25 RBIs. He's in for a big payday. Carson Kelly, who they brought over, he's gotten off to a good start this year. They got a lot of guys that are doing well in the lineup. The pitching, Shota Imanaga, he's gotten off to a decent start. 2-1, 2.38 ERA. The Cubs, their start, it's because of their lineup. They're 15-10 on the year. They got the best run differential in the majors right now at plus 42. So yeah, I'm putting them at number 3. Dodgers, I got at 2. Right now things are not looking great with the pitching. You have Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow both got hurt. Dustin May was not great yesterday. But it's not like you're going to panic. No, you're not going to panic with the Dodgers. But, there are some injury concerns. And that was my thing going into the year. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, he's been lights out. He's a Cy Young candidate. But, Sasaki hasn't been great. Look, we looked at the Dodgers rotation on paper going into the year, and we're like, yeah, this, who's going to beat this rotation? Well, they got guys in the rotation that got an injury history, or at times might not be that great. And already you've seen a couple of injuries to Snell, to Glasnow. Now they have a lot of depth there where they can afford it, but and Sasaki hasn't been great. Now, obviously, it's only April, so, we'll see what happens when we get to, October, but injuries happen to everybody. The Dodgers are not going to be 100% all year. Guys are going to be in and out of the lineup. Guys are going to be, in and out of the rotation, in and out of the bullpen. Injuries are a part of the game. So, yeah, but after that, that 8-0 start, they've come back down to earth a little bit. Ohtani had 3 strikeouts yesterday. But, yeah, look. They're still the Dodgers. They're still one of the best teams in the entire league. They're going to be fine. I do have the Padres at number 1. 17-7 on the year. They're a game up on the Dodgers. They are actually tied with the Mets for the best record in baseball. Their run differential is plus 35. They've only given up 68 runs this season, which is actually behind the Mets. The Mets have given up 66 runs. They've scored 101. The Padres have scored 103. But their pitching been very good. Bullpen rotation. They have a deep lineup. This is going to be a very dangerous team come October. The Dodgers are that team that is going to stand in their way. Will they be able to get past them? We'll see. But you look at Fernando Tatis. He's gotten off to a really good start. 8 home runs, 17 RBIs, a 344 batting average, a 1061 OPS. Gavin Sheets, he's gotten off to a good start for them. 323, 3 homers, 12 RBIs, and 889 OPS. Manny Machado, he's gotten off to a good start as well. Bogarts, the power numbers have not been there. He has no home runs, but you figure he's going to get it going more in that department. But yeah, Nick Pivetta, he's looked really good for them. 4-1, a 1.2 ERA. Michael King's looked good. So yeah, I mean right now I got them at number 1. So to run through it, we got Diamondbacks at 5, Mets at 4, Cubs at 3, Dodgers at 2, and the Padres at 1. No American League teams. Can't do it. Can't do it. Sorry. Let me know what you guys think, though, about that top 5. What would your top 5 be? Let me know in the comments. And with that, we have reached the end of the third to last show that I will be hosting here on the GSMC Sports Network. When we speak again tomorrow, it's draft night, so we will talk about that. Heavily focused show on the draft for the next 2 days as we near the end here. Obviously, we will talk about the NBA playoffs as well. That's really going to be what these next couple of shows are going to be. But obviously, with the draft coming up, Friday's going to be all draft reactions, and trying to see if I could do a one last ranking, or not really a ranking, but kind of just like a review. Years in review. We'll discuss more of that on Friday. But yeah, this is we've reached the end of the third to last show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to check out all the other shows on the network. Like, comment, and subscribe. And wherever you get your podcast, if you're on the go, you can listen to us on there. And yeah, so that is it. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, signing off from the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn.